Every story has a turning point, a moment when everything changes. The turning point.
It started with a whisper. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. I'd gotten up early, like I always do, and was heading downstairs for coffee when I heard them, my two daughters, talking in hushed voices in the kitchen. I paused at the top of the stairs. Not intentionally, I just froze. Something in their tone made me stop. "Are you going to tell her?" one of them asked. I think it was Rachel. "No, not yet. She's not ready," the other replied. "Anna, not ready?" I waited for more, but they went quiet. Then I heard the clinking of mugs and the fridge opening. Normal morning sounds. I walked down a moment later, making a little extra noise with my slippers so they'd hear me coming. When I stepped into the kitchen, both girls smiled a little too brightly. "Morning, Mom," Rachel said. "We were just making coffee." Anna added, "How did you sleep?" "Fine," I said, forcing a smile of my own. They handed me a cup. I thanked them, but my mind was still back on that whisper. She's not ready. I didn't ask. I didn't want to make a scene. Maybe it was nothing. But I knew my daughters, and something was definitely off. That day, little things kept catching my attention. Anna kept checking her phone like she was waiting for news. Rachel hovered, offering to help me with things I didn't need help with, sorting laundry, loading the dishwasher, organizing a drawer I hadn't touched in months. They were being too nice, too careful. By afternoon, I found myself looking at them differently, watching their eyes when I asked simple questions, watching how they exchanged glances before answering. Something was going on. I thought about asking directly, but a small voice in my head, the same one that froze me at the stairs, told me to wait, to listen. Something about this felt fragile, like one wrong word would make them shut down completely. So I smiled. We had dinner together like always, talked about nothing. A neighbor's dog, a recipe Anna wanted to try, a show Rachel was watching, all normal things. But the silence between the words was louder than the conversation. That night, as I lay in bed, I replayed that moment on the stairs over and over again. She's not ready. Not ready for what? Whatever it was, they were keeping something from me. And for the first time in a very long time, I felt like a stranger in my own family. The next morning, I woke up before both of them. I moved through the house quietly, trying not to feel like a guest in my own home. The kitchen was clean, too clean. Every dish put away, every counter wiped down. Even the fruit bowl had been reorganized. I know that sounds silly, but it wasn't how I left it. I poured myself coffee and sat in the sunroom, the one we never really used. It had always felt too cold, too formal. I just needed a moment alone. But then I saw something that made me pause. Rachel's car keys were on the table next to her purse. That wouldn't have mattered. Except inside her open planner, I saw a sticky note. Dr. H, 2 p.m. Nothing else. Just that. I don't know why it bothered me. I wasn't snooping. It was just there, in my face, like it was meant to be seen, or meant not to be. At breakfast, I casually asked, "Are either of you going to the doctor today?" Both of them froze for half a second. It was barely noticeable, but it was there. Rachel said, "Oh, just a quick checkup, nothing major." Anna nodded. "Yeah, she's been meaning to go for a while." I didn't push, but something about the way they answered, too quickly, too in sync, made me feel like they had practiced it. Later that afternoon, I watched them leave together. They said they were just running errands. They didn't take shopping bags. They didn't mention which store. They were gone for almost 3 hours. When they returned, I asked how it went. Rachel blinked. "Oh, the store? Fine, just crowded." Anna added, "We couldn't find what we needed." They were lying. I know it sounds paranoid, but when you've raised children, when you've watched every facial twitch and every fake smile during their teenage years, you learn the signs. They were hiding something. But what scared me more than their lies was the fact that they were so coordinated about it. They weren't just avoiding a hard conversation. They were preparing for something, and they didn't want me to know what it was. That evening, I had trouble sleeping. I've always been a light sleeper, but lately, the silence in the house felt heavier than usual, like something was pressing down on the walls, on the air, even on my chest. I got up for a glass of water around 1 a.m., trying to step lightly so the floorboards wouldn't creak. The kitchen was dark, but I didn't turn on the light. I knew where everything was. As I stood at the sink, I heard it again. Voices, soft, in the living room. I moved closer, carefully, stopping just before the hallway ended. I couldn't see them, but I could hear them. Rachel and Anna. Rachel's voice was low, anxious. "She's going to find out eventually." Anna whispered, "Not if we do this right. We just have to wait until the appointment. Then it won't be on us." Rachel sighed. "I hate this." And then Anna said something that made me stop breathing. "She'll thank us one day. Maybe not now, but when she forgets the truth, she won't even know we lied." There was a pause, a long, terrible pause. Then one of them got up. I heard footsteps, and I backed away quickly, slipping into the bathroom before they saw me. I stood there in the dark, gripping the edge of the sink, my heart pounding. What truth? What were they planning? I looked at myself in the mirror, searching my own eyes like a stranger might. Was this about me? Were they saying, I would forget? I didn't sleep after that. I lay awake, eyes open, staring at the ceiling, playing every word over and over in my head. She'll thank us when she forgets. We lied. By the time the sun came up, I knew one thing for sure. Whatever was happening, it had already started. The next day, I decided to stop pretending. I didn't confront them, not yet. I just started looking more closely at the things they thought I wouldn't notice. Rachel was in the shower. Anna had stepped out to take a phone call in the backyard. I sat in the kitchen with my second cup of coffee and opened Rachel's planner again. The sticky note was gone. In its place, a fresh page. Everything else was normal. Grocery list, meal plan, some appointments scratched out. But near the bottom, in smaller handwriting, I saw something that made my breath catch. Monday, 11 o'clock, Dr. K, confirmed. I grabbed my phone and typed the name into Google. Dr. K was a neurologist, private clinic, specializing in early cognitive decline and memory loss. The number was listed right there. I called. A woman answered politely. "Dr. Kessler's office, how can I help you?" I hesitated, then said, "Hi, I'm calling to confirm an appointment. I believe I'm scheduled for Monday at 11. Name? Margaret Weston." I expected her to say no. Instead, she said, "Yes, I see you here. New patient evaluation. It's already confirmed." I sat there stunned. I didn't make that appointment. There was a pause on her end. "It was booked by your authorized representative, a Rachel Weston?" My mouth went dry. I hung up. I stared at the phone in my hand like it had betrayed me. So they had already decided, without telling me, without even asking. They weren't just hiding something. They were preparing something, moving pieces, making calls, filling out paperwork, treating me like I didn't exist in my own life. I went upstairs and checked my bathroom drawer. My paperwork was still there. Old prescriptions, insurance information, test results from a year ago when I had dizzy spells. Everything in its place, except one thing. A sealed envelope I didn't recognize. Inside was a letter. It had my name at the top and the logo of the same neurologist's clinic, printed 2 weeks ago. I opened it. Patient, Margaret Weston, referral, family requested cognitive screening based on observed changes in behavior, including confusion, disorientation, and memory gaps. I stared at the words. Observed changes, memory gaps. I felt my heart pounding, not because of fear, but because I suddenly realized they were preparing a version of me that didn't exist, a version they could justify taking control of, gently, quietly, completely. And I was starting to wonder, was this really about my health or about their convenience? I didn't mention the appointment, not right away. Instead, I waited until we were all sitting together after dinner. Anna was folding napkins. Rachel was scrolling through her phone. I said, as casually as I could manage, I called Dr. Kessler's office today. Both their heads snapped up. Rachel's phone dropped slightly in her hand. Anna's jaw tensed. I just wanted to know why I had an appointment I didn't make, I said, and why it was scheduled under the assumption that I was showing signs of decline. No one spoke. I let the silence stretch, waiting to see who would break first. It was Rachel. We didn't mean to hide it, she said quickly. We weren't sure how to talk to you about it yet. Anna added, You've been forgetting things, Mom. Small things, names, appointments, leaving the stove on. We just thought, you thought I couldn't be trusted, I finished. No, Rachel said. We thought we were being responsible. It wasn't the answer that upset me. It was how ready they were to give it. Like they'd been rehearsing this conversation for weeks. Like I'd already been judged and processed before I even had the chance to defend myself. I'm allowed to forget a name once in a while, I said. I'm allowed to leave a burner on. That doesn't mean I've lost my mind. Anna looked down. Rachel didn't. Then carefully, Rachel said, That's not the only reason. I raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? She disappeared down the hall and came back holding a thin file folder. She laid it in front of me. I didn't want you to find this on your own, she said. Inside were copies of old documents, my old doctor's visit summaries, going back a few years, notes about mild disorientation, 2 MRIs, both showing inconclusive results, and a referral. At the bottom of the last page, in bold, were the words, Recommended follow-up, monitor for progression of possible early-stage dementia. I read it twice, then looked at them. You knew about this? I asked quietly. Rachel nodded. Before I did? Another nod. And that was the moment something inside me shifted. Because it wasn't just that they had made decisions behind my back. It was that they had stepped ahead of me in my own life, taken control of the wheel without asking if I was even ready to let go. I closed the folder gently. Then I stood up, walked upstairs, and closed my bedroom door without saying another word, not because I was angry, but because I didn't know what scared me more, that they might be wrong, or that they might be right. I didn't sleep much that night. I lay awake thinking, not about the diagnosis, not even about the folder, but about trust, how quickly it disappears. once someone decides to protect you from yourself. By morning, I had made a decision. I got dressed, made myself coffee, and told my daughters I was going out. Alone. They didn't protest. They didn't offer to come. That silence told me everything. I didn't go far, just to the park nearby, the one I used to take them to when they were little. I sat on the same bench I always had, under the elm tree. Then I made a call, not to my doctor, to my friend Miriam. We've known each other since college. She's sharp, honest, and not the type to sugarcoat anything. I told her everything. She listened without interrupting. When I finally finished, she said, "Do you want the truth?" "Yes." "You need a second opinion, and not from someone they picked, from someone you choose, and fast." She gave me the name of a neurologist she trusted. I called and made an appointment for the following week, under my own name, on my own terms. I already felt lighter. That night, back at home, I went to my room and opened the drawer where I kept all my important papers: birth certificate, will, insurance documents. Something was missing. The living will I signed last year. The one where I left my healthcare power of attorney blank because I hadn't decided who to assign. It was gone. I searched through every file, every folder. Nothing. Then I checked the drawer in the study, the one I almost never use. Tucked behind an old tax file, I found a copy, but it had been filled in neat handwriting, my signature, or what looked like it, at the bottom. And next to designated healthcare agent, it read, Rachel Weston. I stared at it for a long time, because now it wasn't just about good intentions. Now it was something else. Now it was control, taken quietly, signed without permission, or maybe forged. I didn't say anything that night, but inside, everything changed. Because it wasn't just about whether I was forgetting things. It was about what they were willing to do before I ever did. The next morning, I made eggs and toast for all of us. The kind of breakfast I used to make when the girls were still in school. I set the plates down like nothing had changed. They ate in silence. I think they could feel the shift, like I'd stopped being passive, stopped pretending to be confused. After the dishes were cleared, I turned to Rachel. "I need to talk to you, just us." She glanced at Anna, then followed me to the sunroom. I shut the door behind us. I didn't sit down. I held up the living will. "This," I said, "was filled out without my knowledge. My signature is either forged or taken from something I never authorized for this use. Do you want to explain that?" Rachel's face paled. "Mom, it wasn't like that." "It was exactly like that," I said. "You don't get to protect me by legally disarming me." Her voice trembled. "You were drifting, forgetting things, saying things twice, getting angry over nothing. I'm allowed to forget. I'm allowed to be angry, but I'm not incompetent." I waited for her to argue. She didn't. Instead, she broke. Her eyes filled with tears. And then she said something that I didn't expect. "It's not just you, Mom." I frowned. "What does that mean?" She sat down slowly. "It's me," she whispered. "It started last year. I forgot I'd paid the mortgage and sent it twice. I lost my car in the parking lot. Not for 5 minutes, for 2 hours. I was terrified." I sat down across from her. She continued, "I haven't told anyone, not even Anna, but when I saw you forgetting things too, I panicked. I thought maybe it's genetic. Maybe you've had it all along and just never said." I was quiet. Everything inside me softened just slightly, not because what she did was forgivable, but because now I saw the fear beneath it. She hadn't just been protecting me. She was trying to protect herself. We sat there a long time. Then I said, "You should make your own appointment." "Not with Dr. Kessler. Someone new." She nodded. "And until then, you don't make any more decisions for me. Understood?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "Yes." When we came back to the kitchen, Anna looked up from her tea. She studied our faces, and for the first time I saw worry in her eyes too, as if she realized whatever they thought they were managing was beginning to unravel. The week passed slowly. Rachel kept her distance, but in a careful, respectful way. Anna asked questions more gently now, less like a caretaker, more like a daughter again. I went to my appointment. A new doctor, new clinic, no pre-filled forms or hushed instructions. Just a straightforward cognitive screening, followed by a long conversation about stress, hormones, and memory. The results? I was fine, tired, distracted, a little forgetful in ways that were completely normal for a woman my age, especially one who'd spent the last year helping her adult children navigate messy divorces, job changes, and health scares. In other words, a mother being a mother. When I told them, Rachel cried. Anna apologized. I accepted both, but something between us had shifted in a way we couldn't name, because trust, once broken, doesn't always heal the same way. A few days later, I found something in the hallway closet. It was a folder labeled, "In case it gets worse." Inside, legal documents, guardianship forms, medical directives, even an email draft to my primary physician. They'd been preparing for my decline, preparing to take over, without ever asking if I wanted to fight. I burned it, not in anger, but because I knew I had to draw a line somewhere. One morning I stood in front of the bathroom mirror. I looked at myself, really looked. Lines deeper than I remembered, hair lighter at the roots, eyes still mine, and I said out loud, quietly, "You're still here." Not because I needed convincing, but because I needed to hear it from the one person who hadn't abandoned her. Me. They don't whisper in the kitchen anymore, and I don't stop halfway down the stairs. We still have awkward moments, and sometimes I see them glance at each other before they speak, like they're checking for cracks. But they're learning, and so am I, because growing older doesn't mean fading out. It means getting louder in the ways that matter. It means reminding the world and your children that you are not invisible, not yet, not ever.
If this story moved you, there's more to come. Subscribe and don't miss the next turning point.